intended to contribute to our understanding of how ordinary men can be made into both highly professional and determined soldiers, brutalized instruments of a barbarous policy, and devoted believers in a murderous ideology. How they can be taught to live in an inverted world of fictitious images, and why their distorted view of reality is perpetuated long after the objective conditions which had prompted it have disappeared in a surge of horrendous destruction. I owe thanks to a large number of individuals and institutions for guidance, ideas, and support. At Stanford University, I was launched on my first postgraduate attempts to understand history by Gordon Craig, Peter Parrott, Gordon Wright, and Hyman Abramsky. During my years at Oxford and in subsequent visits, I received valuable advice from Tony Nichols, Tim Mason, and Michael Howard. I would also like to thank Poge van Strandman, Richard Bessel, and Volker Berghan. Other colleagues in Britain who kindly invited me to read papers at various universities in that country and provided me with much constructive criticism are Jeremy Noakes, Eve Rosenshaft, Jill Stevenson, and Dick Geary. I owe a special debt to Ian Kershaw for years of friendship and inestimable assistance. In Germany, I am grateful to the staff of the Militärgeschichtliches Forschungsamt in Freiburg, and especially to Wilhelm Diest, Bernd Kroner, Hans Umbreit, Jürgen Förster, Wolfram Wette, and Manfred Messerschmidt. Bernd Wegner, his wife Anneli, and their 3 children have given me a home in Germany to which I will always hope to return. The staff of the Bundesarchiv Militärarchiv guided me with great expertise through the maze of documents. Thanks is also due to Reinhard Rürup for inviting me to spend a constructive summer as a guest of the Technische Hochschule in Berlin, and to the Friedrich Meinecke Library for its rich collection of secondary works. Cornelia Essner's friendship and hospitality made my stay in Berlin much more enjoyable than it would have otherwise been. Hans Ulrich Wehler's interest in my work has greatly encouraged me. At Tel Aviv University, I wish to thank all my colleagues at the Department of History. I am particularly indebted to Zvi Yavetz, Shulamit Volkov, Saul Friedländer, and Dan Diner. At the Wiener Library Seminar, I was fortunate to make the acquaintance of colleagues from abroad, among whom I would especially like to mention Lutz Niethammer, Andy Markowitz, Ulrich Herbert, Peter Fritsche, and Gordon Horwitz. Uli Arad and Frank Stern extended their friendship and counsel, while my students allowed me to try on them my more outrageous ideas, and often subjected them to well-deserved criticism. As a visiting fellow at Princeton University, I learned a great deal from Lawrence Stone, Arno Mayer, Natalie Davis, David Abraham, Martha Petrusowitz, and Sheldon Garin. Mark Mazauer has kindly shared with me some of his own recent and fascinating work on the subject. I would like to thank them all. Since coming to Harvard, I have had the opportunity to exchange opinions with many more colleagues. I am grateful to Charles Mayer, Stanley Hoffman, David Landis, Jürgen Koche, and Alan Silver, as well as to Jeffrey Hirsch and Daniel Goldhagen for having given me of their time. Paula Friedrichsen and Richard Landis have shown me the extent to which rigorous scholarship, intellectual pursuits, and long-standing friendships can complement each other. I would also like to thank the readers of this manuscript for numerous helpful suggestions and comments, even if I have not always accepted their criticism. Needless to say, I alone am responsible for the final version of this work. My research in Germany was financed by the German Historical Institute in London, the German Academic Exchange Service, and the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. I must particularly praise the latter for its generosity and promotion of international scholarship. The Davis Center for Historical Studies at Princeton University enabled me not only to complete my previous book, but also to sketch out the first outlines of the present work. The final version of this book, however, was written at the Society of Fellows of Harvard University. I cannot sufficiently laud this institution, both for enabling me to end a project which had been haunting me for years, and for providing the perfect balance between solitude and intellectual intercourse which is so hard to come by these days. It is with pleasure that I express my gratitude to the Secretary of the Society.